You need to know how to feed multi-shuttle. If you're a player and you don't know how to feed multi-shuttle, then no one will want to train with you. If you're a coach and you don't know how to feed multi-shuttles, then you might want to find a different profession. Some people make feeding look pretty easy, but it's actually pretty hard to do well. But with enough practice and the right fundamentals, you can do it too. The first thing that we need to learn, which is probably the hardest part of feeding, is how to hold the stack correctly. In order to hold the stack correctly, we want to make sure that the stack is facing down. That means the cork is closest to the floor and the shuttles are going to stack within each other. Think of it like ice cream cones. We're going to stack them on top of one another, and we're going to make sure that the stack is coming down the forearm and in between the index and the middle finger. I also have the shuttles on my left hand, which is my non-dominant hand, because I can now use these two fingers to either feed myself to my right hand or to pass and then throw or feed. The reason why that we want to have the shuttles go between your index finger and your middle finger is so we can use these two fingers to eject or to shoot out the bird as we feed. The most basic way of feeding is to throw it. So we can either throw underhand, throw overhead, or to throw flat. Throwing multi-shuttle is relatively easy. You just need to know how to hold the bird. The first throw would be the underhand throw. I hold it just like I hold it with my left hand. I have the shuttle or the cork in between my index and my middle finger. Then I just pull back and throw. This is the most easy way to throw it, and this is how I teach my students who are especially younger how to throw underhand. So shuttle in between the index and the middle finger, pull back, throw forward. Now for overhead, it's just like throwing a ball, except when we're holding the shuttle, we want to hold it like we're throwing a dart. So we're holding with our thumb and our index finger around the cork of the bird. We're going to take a step back with the right foot or your racket foot, arm back, and then we're just going to throw like we're throwing a ball. So holding it like a dart, pull back, and throw forward. Overhead is a great prerequisite before you even teach the overhead stroke, because how they learn or how they throw the overhead is pretty much how they're going to swing the racket. So I actually get a lot of my students, before they even learn the overhead stroke, we just get them to shift back, rotate, and throw the bird as many times as possible, and just play catch with one another. The last way of throwing is to throw flat. This is the one where it's a little bit more difficult for some people. In order to throw flat, we want to take our right hand or your dominant hand to come on top of the shuttle, and using our fingers and the thumb underneath, and we're going to throw it forward. We're going to come back and extend, come back and extend. It's very similar if you were to shoot dollar bills forward. Now, feeding with the racket. There are two ways to do this. First is to use the hand that you're holding the racket with. Take your two fingers, grab it from the stack, and toss to the right and feed. Grab and feed. Grab and feed. The second way is to use your left hand or the hand that you're holding the stack with. Use your index and your middle finger. We're going to toss it to your racket and feed. Toss and feed. If you're new to feeding, I would recommend you to take the stack and kind of hold it tight against your body, and then do the first method of feeding where you use your right hand or your racket hand and just take the bottom shuttle, toss it and feed. Take the bottom shuttle, toss it and feed. This method is usually easier, so they can keep the stack tight so that it doesn't fall everywhere, and they can just focus on tossing and feeding and not worry about the stack falling out when they're moving around. When you feel more confident in holding the stack with your non-dominant hand without having it fall all over the place, then I would recommend using your index finger and your middle finger to toss the bird to your racket and feed. So you can toss and feed. I like feeding this way because I can feed a lot faster and I can feed without looking. So now that I can feed without looking, I can spend more time watching my student, making sure that they're doing the footwork correctly, if their timing is right, or if their technique is correct. Quick tip, if you want to make it easier to hit the shuttle, throw the bird sideways. So either if you're throwing with your racket hand or throwing from your non-dominant hand to your racket, we are throwing the bird sideways. Try not to throw it straight up, because if you throw it straight up, you have to wait for the bird to flip and come down before you can hit. And that's it. That's the basics of feeding multi-shuttle. Thank you for watching. See you soon.